We're wearing the Barbie sweater today just because I want to spread a little bit of color on this gloomy review that's about to go down. Snow White 2025 is a Disney remake of the beloved Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs that came out in 1930s. Directed by Marc Webb, this tells the story of Snow White, who, after getting a new evil stepmother, is being hunted by her to be murdered due to being the fairest of them all. She seeks refuge in the magical woods by these seven dwarves and must go back and salvage the kingdom that was once prestigious. There is a lot of stuff to talk about this movie, and I'm not exactly sure why that is.
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be. I mean, you know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird. So we didn't do that this time.
Now, here's the thing with this review. I'm not gonna get into all that sort of stuff with Rachel Zegler. She's gone through hell and back on these, you know, press tours and things of that nature, talking about all the things that she had stated about this. That's just a snippet of some of the things that were stated in all the press junkets that she had done prior to the movie even having a trailer out. But that stuff has already been done and talked about to death. If you want to go find other things and other people to talk about that stuff, be my guest. I'm not going to talk about that much of that here. But Snow White 2025, is it a train wreck of a movie as most people predicted, including myself? Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, it's pretty spot on. Yeah, good guess right there, guys. Now, am I going to pin all of this on Rachel Zegler herself? Well, no, actually, I won't. I think she's actually a fine addition to the movie for the most part. I think that she acts well. It's not a bad performance per se. Her singing is actually really, really good. It's probably one of the biggest highlights of the movie. But there's also parts of the movie too where, especially the look of her too, like, I don't know, something about the hair with her specifically just doesn't give off the same Snow White vibes that you would from, you know, the 30s. So in the end, it's like not like the worst performance I've ever seen. It's actually an okay performance. I would never pin this train wreck of a movie solely on her. What is a good scapegoat for it though is Gal Gadot. Gal Gadot is pretty horrendous in this movie, actually. She's not very good, which is sad because I used to be one of those people that was like, yeah, no, Gal Gadot is kind of a good actress. And, you know, I was only referencing Wonder Woman at the time. And then I saw movies like Death on the Nile, and then I saw the different cuts for, you know, the Snyder cut for Justice League, and the way she says Kal-El 10 different times. I saw Wonder Woman 1984, and then like all these other things that she's been in, and then you watch this and you go, yeah, no, you were the outlier, first Wonder Woman. You were definitely just, you know, one good day, because she is remarkably atrocious in this movie. She's not very good at all. And it's not even just the singing, because her singing is pretty bad. She gets at least 1 to 2 numbers, I want to say, and they're not good whatsoever. But just the lines of dialogue that she spews in this movie, the sort of inflection that she gives, the outburst, the performance of it all, it just doesn't sit right. It feels way too ham-fisted. It feels way too over the top for a remake that they kind of want to take seriously, but it's kind of hard to tell. And that's where you kind of get into the other problems with this movie, which is the screenwriters and the director's fault, Marc Webb. I hate you, Marc Webb, for all that you've done with Spider-Man. I hate you. But joking aside on that much, obviously I'm not a big fan of those two movies, but he doesn't really do a great job here. I think the plot of this story is really, really choppy. It's not stitched well together whatsoever, and most people who don't know this, you'll find out here at least, that originally the movie wasn't going to include the 7 dwarves. Originally, the idea of the movie was going to be Snow White and the 7 bandits. They were not going to have the dwarves in this whatsoever. Why remake a Disney classic with the 7 dwarves, which is very integral to that story, and then turn it into 7 randos? Beats me. But they quickly course corrected, and then they decided once the stuff got out and leaked that they were doing that, they pulled the movie and done a ton of reshoots and shot it with the 7 dwarves. And it just doesn't flow right. It doesn't feel very well constructed whatsoever. The scenes that they do recreate from the original movie are fine. They're okay, you know, with them singing in the house and cleaning the house and that sort of stuff. And they expand upon the mining of the diamonds and stuff for the dwarves a little bit more. which by the way, look absolutely horrific whatsoever, especially this fucker right here, Dopey. This is nightmare fuel. I did not sleep after watching this movie because this fucker was in this movie. Either way, it's way too, and like, yeah, it's cartoonish, and I kind of like that. A lot of the stuff is a little bit more cartoonish, like with the animals and that sort of stuff. But my biggest complaint with the dwarves thing, though, is you had a real opportunity to hire 7 actors to play the dwarves. You had 7 roles to fill for guys of that nature. And pardon me if I'm saying this in a weird way, I don't want to offend, but like, you had 7 people you could have put in those roles, and they just didn't do it. In fact, they only got 1, and they made him 1 out of the 7 bandits a dwarf. But like, not like the dwarfs that you would see with Snow White in the cabinet with, you know, Sleepy, Dopey, Grumpy, and all of them. He's just a random guy. So you got 1 guy, but not in the role that the movie is designed for. And the love interest with that is just also not very good either. Like, you feel no sympathy and no, like, sparks, I guess you would call it, for the 2 characters of Snow White and Jonathan in this movie, who ends up being the prince, I guess you would call it, or the stand-in for the prince, I should say. Because, yeah, it's like Rachel Zegler said, this is not the prince comes and saves the day. This is very different than what it was in the original. And that's another big problem that I have with this movie, is because Disney's going to go out of their way to do a lot of these remakes, right? Like, for example, they're going to do the remake of Lilo and Stitch. Now, I'm a big fan of Lilo and Stitch, obviously, and I saw the trailers and I saw how it looks, and like, while Stitch looks fine and the CGI for that looks okay, it actually looks probably better than anything in this movie for sure, and they still got a couple months before that even comes out. It just doesn't capture that same tone and that same feel of the original one, and I'm personally not excited for it whatsoever. Like, I'll still go and watch it, but it's not one of those movies that I'm gonna be like actively seeking, like, you know, approval for. Like, I know that they're gonna make money despite it, you know, for sure, but it's the same thing with this. It's like, why go and make this movie? Why? I'll tell you why. It's just probably because they want to keep the copyrights for this, really. They don't want to do anything else with this story other than to just hold on to it so they could keep showing at the theme parks, keep selling the products, keep doing all that sort of stuff. To that, then I would say you should probably try to do something different with your movie, but then you run into the problems of they've already done kind of different variations of Snow White with the huntsman and that sort of stuff, and while I've never seen all of that sort of stuff, you know, it's not out of the realm of possibility to take Snow White as a concept of a story and change it up and be like, yeah, this is our interpretation of this story, and this is what we're going to do for this one. I'd actually be open to that idea. The problem is you have to do a good movie, and this is not. This falls flat on its face. It's a soulless, uninspired Disney remake yet again. I don't want to say it's the worst of the lot because, to be honest with you, that they all are the same to an extent. Aladdin usually kind of sticks out as one of the worst ones because it skips a good third of the movie in a montage while adding 20 extra minutes to that movie, I want to say, if my memory serves me correctly. So it's kind of in that realm. It's kind of not in that realm. They're all kind of the same at the end of the day. Again, I'm not going to pin this on Rachel Zegler. She's already had enough of the bullshit with the press and everything like that for that movie, so I don't think she deserves another person speaking out on it and saying that, wow, what you said really hinders the movie. I'm not going to say it didn't help the movie. It sure as fuck hindered it for sure, but she's not the reason this failed. This failed for a lot of different reasons other than her. I would definitely pin it on the reshoots and the story and how it was written, and honestly, I would also pin a lot of it on Gal Gadot too, unfortunately. I'm going to give Snow White 2025 1 star. Thank you guys so much for watching. Look forward to more reviews very soon. You could go down below and check out all the socials that I have down there, where we have Twitter, Letterboxd, and TikTok. TikTok, I just recently posted a review for Queen of the Ring on there, so you could go ahead and check out all of that sort of stuff. In the meantime, thanks again for watching. Keep those cinemas alive, and I will talk to you all next time.